important connection that you discovered on your own because of a problem that you experienced, and the fact that you responded to it from a place of empathy, and you also wanted to be a part of the solution. So you made it a personal mission to be the change you were seeking. So the first connection that you noticed was the connection between air pollution and waste. Right. And then the second thing that you realized very quickly was that waste can be managed at a personal level. That if each one of us became individually responsible for the waste that we generate on a daily basis, we can make a big difference. Now, this is the kind of human behavioral change that we are seeking, because if there is one thing that we can instantly, at an individual level, change about ourselves, is our perception and understanding of how we respond and manage our waste, and the connection between human health and waste. So for those who are watching, waste not only contributes to air pollution, it contributes to water pollution, it contributes to soil pollution, and therefore also impacts human health significantly. So when we decide at an individual level to manage our waste, now I want you to explain to everybody how do you, so start with saying, how did you start managing your waste? Of course, you created mountains of waste in your home, but what were those mountains of waste, and were you composting your wet waste? So just tell us about the segregation aspect, and then how did you both manage to convince more residents? I mean, you've reached out to 1,000+ households. How did you manage to convince so many more people to do what you were doing?
So what actually happened was that after, you know, those giant mountains of waste in our garage, so we actually had segregated them into these categories. So we have paper waste, plastic waste, glass waste, metal waste, and e-waste. So then when we segregate them, so we segregated them in our garage, and what actually happened was then we tried to find recyclers, we tried to find manufacturers who's actually willing to take that paper, that dry waste, and actually recycle it. And for our wet waste, we used to compost it. So what happened was, when we got in touch with these recyclers and manufacturers, it was really hard for them. You know, they normally buy waste in huge bulks, like really big bulks. Like for our small garage mountain was nothing for them, because you know, they never really used to take such small quantities. So this is when we actually reached out to the residents, saying that, so we started having talks, we started having presentations on how to segregate waste, and how to segregate waste, and what are the impacts of recycling your waste. So if you recycle your waste, a lot of things will, a lot of good things will happen. So and then what happened was,
so like what Nav said about how we basically understood that for recyclers, it didn't make sense economically on any other ground for them to come to an individual's house, pick up their dry waste and take it to recycle, because it was just so little. So our decision making process, as Nav said, was that why don't we get everyone together? If we can make a cooperate, we get so many people involved, then obviously the amount of waste we'll have will increase. That means that they'll be interested, and then they'll want to take it as well.
So you're creating a value chain, and you're making everybody a part of the value chain. Got it.
Exactly.
So then what we do is, after we've given the presentations and all, we've also offered them a pickup and a door-to-door service. So basically, if they sign up with us, we will basically give them a schedule on which day we will come in the month and the time. And after they segregated their waste, we'll hire a truck, and we'll come to their house, we'll pick up their waste, we'll weigh it, and according to the amount of waste they give us, we also pay them. So that becomes an incentive for people to actually segregate better, and also to, you know, convince other people to also segregate their waste.
So one second now, hold on. You're saying that you pay people to give you their waste?
Yes.
How much do you pay them?
So it really differs. So around, I think it's 2.4 rupees per kg of paper. But there are also other rates, and they keep on changing according to, you know, the recyclers. And we only actually partner with recyclers who have the PCB, which is the Pollution Control Board certificate. And yeah, so then after that we take their waste. So we go to different houses in the same colony. So one day will be at one colony, the other day will be a different colony, and we'll take it to our warehouse where we'll actually micro segregate it. So if you guys are, if the households are segregating into paper, we'll actually segregate that same paper into, say, shredded paper, colored paper, A5 paper, A4 paper, and after we've done that, when we have the certain when we have the certain amount of like the certain quantities of waste, we'll actually contact the factories, we'll send in our truck, and those will get recycled. So a lot of people actually say that, why don't we just give our waste to the kabali walas? I mean, they're recycling their waste. But actually, if they only really take products which you can sell really fast and have a lot of, which you can sell really fast and which don't really have a big lifespan, like paper. So
yeah, and also it's always about the money aspect of it. So there's leakages that happen. So like an example is that if, for example, the Indian market of paper is flooded in with, say, from the Western world, right? A lot of paper comes imported into India now that China has banned the import of waste as well.
Yeah.
So when that happens, prices fall dramatically. So for people, it makes economic sense to just sell it to the bag and shoe industry, which is not really recycling it, which is taking the paper and stuffing it into bags or shoes and then giving those boxes. So the product life cycle really of the paper is completely diminished. So, instead of, if you recycled it, it would, continue to last generations. This is now just, going to the bag and shoe industry. It's then coming to someone's house and someone's just throwing it and it's going to the landfill. So what we realized really early on is that we needed a solution which was transparent, which that people could see where their waste is going, because that is what we would want. We would want to know. The whole desire of this is that our waste shouldn't go to the landfill and we should know where our waste is going. So that's why, we've aimed to create a very transparent and very eco-friendly process, even though sometimes the rates may differ, where if you're going for a PCB certificate, they might give you lower rates just because of the certificate, right?
Right. Okay, tell me, what is your experience being with plastic packaging? So a lot of the chips and the beverages and like the different, things that we eat at home is packaged in plastic. Do you collect all of that as well, and what do you do with it?
Yeah, so we actually collect all of that dry waste, but we're actually giving it to people who are making things out of it. So
I mean, what Nav is trying to say is that when we have,
so you're creating a circular economy. You're basically ensuring that the lifespan of the plastic is not it continues, but does so in a way that creates employment and utility of the waste that has been generated.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
So also when we're talking about plastic packaging, you have two different general varieties of plastic. You have the single-use plastic that is not easily recyclable, and then you have the other types of plastic.
There's also the multi-layer plastic, which can't be recycled.
Right. So the multi-layer, and then you have the single-use plastic. For those, we are trying to look at solutions where, like eco bricks, if you've heard of eco bricks.
Yes, I have.
We're giving them for eco bricks, or plastic roads for that matter. So that, we're taking everything. Some things that we're not, is not going to be able to sustain our NGO as well. But we're still giving it. Even if it's costing us money, we're giving it, because the whole purpose behind creating an NGO was that, we have to do the right thing.
It's amazing. Both of you are just like amazing. So inspiring. Tell me, so we've talked about bringing about personal behavioral change. So starting to segregate waste at home. Then you've created a system that creates an end-to-end solution. So from collection to segregation to the whole process of recycling. Then of course you've spoken about composting. Now the third aspect that I really wanted to touch upon was your tree plantation drive, because that is something really amazing. And You've managed to find the land to do it. I also know that a lot of the trees that you've planted have survived and are doing really well. So do you want to talk to us about how you do this tree plantation, and how are you connecting the tree plantation to this waste management process that you've set in place?
So how we actually do the tree plantations is we actually try to do them in a Miyawaki style forest. So we're doing urban afforestation.
Sorry, just like a Miyawaki style forest, but it's not exactly Miyawaki style because of the terrain and the climatic conditions in Delhi.
Also, because Miyawaki is a Japanese style of afforestation, urban afforestation. But in India, a lot of people who are adopting this style of forestation is essentially with indigenous, which is locally available native trees. And I guess the spacing is a little different because the native trees respond differently to the spacing.
Exactly. So the spacing is a lot further away than you. So normally in Miyawaki, it's literally next to each other. So you'd have trees at this
There's no space to walk through or do.
No space whatsoever, and that's very dense foresting. And generally in Japan, you have tall trees that shoot up straight. In India, the native trees that we've tried to plant in the Aravali area, they go wide. And because of that, we need to give them a little more space. So it's more of a dense forestation where we have a lot of trees in a small area of land, but with relative spacing between them. So as Nav was saying?
Yeah, so basically the Miyawaki style forest is when you plant trees in small distance, so they grow faster, there's better, it's more dense, and because of that, the biodiversity in that particular place also increases. And
So we're trying to create a layered forest with our plantation. So that means that you have shrubs at the bottom, you have like moss, and you're trying to encourage different layers of the forest to actually thrive. So you're encouraging both bacteria, you're encouraging insects, you're encouraging all kinds of birds, and sometimes even animals. We've had mongoose, different kinds of mongoose come into our forests as well. So the whole aim with our tree plantation was that we want to create a lung for our city, right? From our waste management, we are trying to avoid having created that pollution in the first place, because the virgin resources that are needed when you are creating new products is being reduced. When we recycle, that means literally the waste is going to the manufacturer is using it in their process. That means that the manufacturer is not having to go ahead and cut those many trees, for example, if it's making paper. So that was our prevention strategy, and now this is like a more immediate strategy that the air pollution is bad and we need to immediately mitigate it. And that was the whole philosophy behind our NGO's two-part strategy, where we are handling from the beginning and then at the end as well.
So how do you connect the waste to the tree plantation? This is obviously also a great incentive for all the people who are a part of what you're doing.
Right.
How do you connect the two? Do you have a particular day where you all go and plant trees? How's that working out?
So we've done 2 plantations so far, and now the plantation is still going on for this year. So we did one last year where we planted 300 trees in a very small area, and we've got 100% survival rate up till today. So that was a proof of concept in some ways, but also like the way we connect the two is that we've been able to create such a big community, almost 1,000 people, as you said, of people interested in the environment, in waste management. And what we just sent out a message to all our patrons, whoever's helped us with the NGO so far last year, and we had more than 100, 200, 300, actually 300.
Yeah.
300 people come, clean up the area, plant the trees with us. So the way we connected is, one is we've had such a huge impact, and we've had so many people who have been involved with us, and we're getting them directly involved with tree plantations. But also what as Nav said, what we've done with our NGO, like our waste management part, we've created a self-sustaining cycle that doesn't require our external input as much, and which actually is breaking even right now.
So,
which is sometimes also creating funds which we're using for the tree plantations.
So the way we actually break even is that we don't depend on donations at all. So only for the tree
We would like
plantation.
them, but we
Yeah.
don't depend on them.
Yeah.
So what we do is we actually charge people every month 200 rupees per month, and this is solely for the truck cost and the waste which we and when we pay them for the waste, the mill is also giving us that same amount of money in return. So it's basically like a whole loop where we don't need any more donations, and we don't need any donations to sustain it, and it can go on its own.
To grow it, of course, we need donations. We need as much help as we can. But we also for people who are interested about this, it's important to know that you're not spending money on it.
Right.
A lot of people have come back to us and told us that when you're paying for the waste, we're making up the 200 rupees itself. So it's literally a free service.
Wow. Is there anything you'd like to both add? I mean, I'm just so blown away by both of you. I'm sure everybody, I'm seeing all the comments and what people are saying. They really admire what you're doing. And I really hope that Nav and Vihan, you can inspire many more young people in the country to do what you're doing, to follow in your steps, and be a part of a solution that we urgently require. Is there anything else you would like to say before we wrap this up?
So I don't think I really went in detail for composting, but
Yes.
we also have a composting guide and all on our website where we actually specified for so depending on your household, we've actually given options for what you can do to compost better. So we have, for say, smaller houses, we have different compost devices which you can use, and we also have them in different price ranges which you can check. So
and we're also working on a solution where we can literally, help whole neighborhoods create energy out of their compost as well. So there are different things that we're doing now to encourage a zero waste lifestyle. But I think the most important thing we both would like to tell everyone is that it starts with you. It starts at home. So when I started and I convinced enough to join, I literally, right now in my room, I have 4 dustbins. I have 4 dustbins segregating it neatly.
So
And
even when you're trashing waste, you're putting everything separately, so you don't have to.
Exactly, because even when the Kooda wala is trying to sell like a plastic bottle or something, if it's soiled, he has less chances of selling it. So I think, you want to help, anyone who can possibly use the waste to help themselves in the future as well. So, starts at home. Starts with cleaning your utensils, your plastic utensils. It starts with reducing it first and foremost. Then, of course, cleaning it, keeping it segregated, keeping it clean, so that everyone, it actually does get to the place that you want it to get to, and not the landfills.
And also, a lot of people have asked us, what about the kabadi walas? They also have a job and things. So what we're actually doing is we're actually employing those same kabadi walas in our organization. We're training them. We're giving them safety gloves. We're giving them the proper wage they need. And we work with them as well.
So like, we're trying to, so a lot of people, when they do start in this sector, what they tend to do is they replace the informal sector, which is not what we want to do. We want to include them because their livelihoods matter. They've sustained this NGO, this whole, the waste in our cities and in our country for almost 1,000 years. And they're really the core of it, and we have to include them as well.
Yes, it is a system that exists. It may be an informal system, but it is a system that exists, and It's wonderful that you've chosen to include them into your solutions and make them a part of what you're doing. Now then, Vihan, it has been such a pleasure talking to both of you. You've made my Independence Day so special, and I'm sure everybody who's watching is going to be just as inspired and motivated to reduce their consumption of plastic waste, of wasteful lifestyles, and start learning to manage their waste better. And of course, if they want to learn more and do better, they can always follow you on Instagram on One Step Greener. Thank you for being who you are. More power to both of you. all my love and good wishes, and I really look forward to meeting you when I'm in Delhi next.
Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much
much.
for the opportunity.
And please tell your parents that they are amazing.
Will do. We will.
Lots of love to both of you. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Okay, thank
And
you.
thank you to everyone who's joined us. Thank you so much. Happy Independence Day, India.